What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's 4-game slate in the association. Nice little break. It's been a lot of big slates of late. There's more coming. There's lots more coming. The NBA takes off for a week from today, Election Day. Everybody make sure to go out and vote, and register, and participate in your democracy. So as a result, we're going to get a bunch of big slates and some small slates kind of mixed in. This is also the nature of the NBA schedule during NFL season. But I am happy to have just a little 4-game slate to walk through. How are you feeling today, Mike?
Behind. Brody had a little cough. I had to take him to the vet this morning. He's good. He's doing all right. But I just want to be safe that my baby's doing good. So, yeah, running a little behind here, but caught up for today. Behind for tomorrow. It'll be a late night tonight. But, yeah, I'm excited. Man, feel really bad for Taylor Hendricks. Terrible news to talk about that. So, yeah, I hate that when you see bad, season-ending kind of injuries. We had our first one last night. So, all the best to him and his fam.
Yeah, despite it being a 4-game slate, we have a bunch of teams on back-to-backs, which makes it more challenging, more interesting to talk through from the injury report perspective. But some of these teams haven't filed. Let's dig in here. Let's start with Denver at Brooklyn. Denver starts second night of back-to-back after an overtime win and border travel crossing late at night as well. Not the easiest spot to walk out of and into when you struggle with Toronto. And now you get a Brooklyn team that's, been a little spunky early in the season. So on the injury report for Denver, they have filed. The same G Leaguers are out along with Deron Holmes, but Jamal Murray pops up as probable on the injury report with a right ankle sprain. Happened late in the fourth quarter. What are your notes on Jamal Murray tonight?
Yeah, expecting this. I was expecting a Q tag. It was bothering him. You saw him leaning on the scorer's table for a solid, 30 seconds throwing a timeout. He kept grabbing it. He had the trainer look at it. So this is a bit of a questionable, probable kind of tag. So we'll see. We know that at least it's not his knee injury. That was something that was, quote, weird back in the preseason. Been playing a ton of minutes overall. So, yeah, we'll be a little bit nervous on the, just him playing A, this many minutes, and B, honestly playing at all in a road back-to-back. Obviously expecting him to start. But if not, that would up Westbrook. We saw a really tight rotation. They got rid of the Dario Saric minutes at center last night as they went smaller. We saw a lot of this last year with the Aaron Gordon, Peyton Watson front court. We saw that and could see it again here there. So, yeah, other than that, just look how tight this rotation is. Yes, it was overtime, but really a testament to how kind of poor the Nuggets bench unit was in the first 2 games, both losses. And, man, they got real lucky here. Jamal hit huge, up and under layup, right-handed finish under the basket layup that was gorgeous. But, yeah, they were down like 10 with like 2:20 left or something. So, really nice win for them.
Yeah, and the schedule's not super forgiving either. They do get 2 days off after this game, but then it's right into another back-to-back set with at Minnesota and then at home against Utah. So I don't know if these minutes are sustainable. They're definitely not sustainable over the course of the whole season in terms of loading up the starters at this level. I mean, this is a playoff rotation. This is 8 in a quarter and rotation with the minutes that Dario Saric got. So it's very difficult to figure out kind of what we've seen versus what's most likely to happen going forward in terms of the rotation. But I would just say that in general, I think the Denver guys have probably been pushed up to a level that is not long-term sustainable in terms of where the minutes are currently on things. And that's definitely something to be aware of going into this back-to-back tonight. Okay, let's move to the Brooklyn side of things, where their injury report is still full. They're without Bojan Bogdanovic, Day'Ron Sharpe, Trendon Watford, and now Ben Simmons, which we've got the lower back injury management tag. Yeah. Not encouraging for a player that's had a real hard time staying healthy. You don't think it's an issue?
Back to back. It's just back to back rest. Like, I feel very strongly about that.
Okay, they play tomorrow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So yeah, front end of a back to back for them. They play tomorrow at Memphis. Surprising though that you'd sit the home game, but whatever. And then on the injury report, they've also got questionable tags on their G Leaguers. here. No other notes for Brooklyn. What do you expect to see happen in the absence of Ben Simmons?
So we've been waiting for a whole, week here. Like, when are they going to freaking start Nick Claxton? We know that they opened media day with this hamstring soreness I talked about before. He had hamstring issues in 2022, 2023. So now you would think Nick Claxton gets the start, and I honestly think, to your point, Nick Claxton's their better player. They just signed him to a $100 million deal. He's probably playing today, sitting tomorrow. So that's kind of how I think it's going to go. So you're going to keep delaying this. Is Claxton going to keep starting? We know that Jordi Fernandez keeps calling his quote unquote 2 point guards, Dennis Schroeder and Ben Simmons. So I feel pretty. The 4 starters we know, like, it's going to be Dennis, the Cams, Dorian Finney-Smith, and you would think Claxton. I would not be totally surprised if they keep Claxton off the bench. I'd be pretty sure they are, but we could see a little bit of Claxton. Ooh, trade, football trade. Anyways, so I think that it's going to be. It should be a limited Claxton. We have him, I think, at 26 minutes. I don't think he'll beat that by very much. Maybe it's a little bit light, but I highly doubt he gets to 30. They've been very, very cautious with short stints and all that stuff there. So that's where we're at. We did see, these two guys, Clowney and Claxton, play together for 16 minutes of overlap. They clearly view Clowney as a bit of a 4-5 combo. So we just have it where those guys cover the 48. There's a chance we could see more. We've seen Clowney's minutes go up every single game. Has looked pretty good overall. That second unit was really good and kind of changed the game in this game on the screen against the Bucks. So yeah, those guys will play. I'm expecting Keon Johnson to pick up the non-Schroeder minutes. They view him more as a 1. Similar defensive style as well. That's a pretty big point for the way that the Nets want to play. They want to have a lot of ball pressure. That's been consistent throughout the preseason. Talked a lot about that. It's held up so far. So that's something that Jamal Murray on the hobbled ankle will have to deal with. And then Jalen Johnson's minutes are still really weird. We had that quote after the first game that he got kind of punished for poor defense. So we'll see if he can come back to life. Zaire Williams playing a lot of the 3. I think he'll be in there. So said the starters. I think the bench will be Clowney, Wilson, Zaire Williams, Keon, and I think I said so. That's 9, and then, we'll probably still see a little bit of shake in there as well. And they should mention the G League guys are questionable. We'll see if they play. They probably don't need to play them, so they might all be out.
Yeah, and I think if Claxton were to come off the bench, that would be a very strong signal that there's still some limitations minutes-wise to him. Otherwise, I think it's very clear to start. And as you've alluded to, I think basically Ben Simmons and Nick Claxton, from a roster, from a floor-based perspective, they're both centers, and they can keep referring to Ben Simmons as a point guard, only be the center for them, and that's been the challenge of kind of fitting the two together. So I see what you're saying in terms of back-to-back. One sits one day, the other sits the other day, and you don't have to disrupt this and keep pushing off the decision. That makes sense to me. Let's go to Dallas, Minnesota, another 7:30 Eastern time game. Unusual start time for a Minnesota game. Assume that is TV related. Dallas has not filed on the back end of a back-to-back. They had a pretty comfortable win against Utah yesterday, so don't think there's too much to worry about here. But what notes do you have on the Mavericks?
Yeah, we should see most of the guys be okay. I haven't seen anything with Luka looking. They actually, you mentioned it wasn't that comfortable. They couldn't really score.
No, but the minutes were
okay.
Not an issue for kind of the front end of a back-to-back.
Yeah.
Kyrie getting up to 36 was the highest.
Yep. Okay. So I see what you mean. It was closer than I thought. I thought they were going to blow the doors off Utah. Luckily, didn't bet on it. But not much to add. I expect that everything will kind of stick. I don't think Luka will get managed, but keep an eye on that. Definitely, if you are looking to bet into some stales, kind of be ready for some news there. Again, very expecting him in there. Gafford continued to start. We saw a bit of a big rotation change and kind of an impactful one. Spencer Dinwiddie had a pretty big impact in this game to get the win. You see the +7. Derek Lively's been freaking so good, both from defensive impact and offensive impact. Except for when we have it over on him. But yeah, so I feel pretty good about the rotation. Quentin Grimes came back to life. That's because Maxi Kleber, who did not travel for this game, is still out. So very, very positive we're going to be running this back. Starters would be the same. I think maybe they flipped the Lively thing for Jason Kidd to screw with us. And then Dinwiddie should be ahead of Hardy. Quentin Grimes came back to life a little bit, not as much as I thought. And then Najee Marshall playing a little bit more for. So feel pretty stable about this rotation overall. And it's national TV. You feel pretty good that they're not going to sit guys here.
Yeah, I was going to say better matchup for Lively than the last couple have been on paper, just in terms of like Gobert isn't a size-wise a dude who's going to like punish Lively physically with his bulk, whereas like Kessler, Nurkic, some of these other guys are like a little bit more challenging. So could see the impetus for a potential change there. I doubt it, but I wouldn't be surprised with Kidd. Minnesota, they are not on they're not on the back end of a back-to-back. Let me check the front end before I make that commentary. No, they are not on the front end. They have had 2 days off. They have another 2 days off after this. And this is the rotation that has been willing to play extremely tight to start the season. They've picked up where they've left off from playoff level rotations. Their G Leaguers are out tonight. What are your expectations for a very well-rested Minnesota team tonight?
Yeah, not too much to say. Just the Ant minutes have been so strong. Airtight rotation. I don't really have really touch to say. Like they're pretty much healthy. We'll see. There was a comment about Mike Conley and his wrist being a concern. Yes. That's the only really note there for me. So yeah, we'll see if Conley's minutes can hold up. You would think they want to up Nickeil Alexander-Walker's minutes a little bit for ball pressure. So just one other note there. But yeah, they're about as healthy as they can be for the most part with their key rotation guys. And we'll see if that lasts. They're playing with fire, running this thing so tight.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, good spot in the schedule for them to have heavy minutes again with 2 days off and 2 days off coming up after that. We'll note the Conley stuff on the wrist. It was non-shooting wrist, if I remember correctly, right wrist, which is interesting because his shot has been terrible to start the season. He's really shot the ball poorly. Man. Who knows if that's impacting it or not? But I would just note that specifically the soreness is related to the right wrist, not his left wrist. So not fully explainable for the poor shooting to start the season. Okay, back to the schedule. Sacramento and Utah, 2 teams on back-to-backs here. Neither are filed. On the Sacramento side, another team that has been willing to run very tight rotations to start the season. I think the name that I'm most interested to see if there's anything that pops up on is Kevin Huerter. But you let me know any other notes on the Kings.
Yeah, that's the one we're watching for. They didn't have to go completely berserk with the minutes last night. They did, they hung around a little bit, but a big third quarter helped them pull away here. So yeah, it should be good to go. Don't really have anything to add. Keep an eye on Huerter, as we mentioned. Just got cleared full. Like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, Trey Lyles, another one to keep an eye on. We'll see if he gets managed. But other than that, pretty good spot here health wise for these guys who are also just running so tight overall.
All right, Utah. We know they'll be without Taylor Hendricks. He's lost for the season, fractured leg, really kind of gruesome injury, one that you don't see often on basketball courts. So very, very disappointing. We were excited about seeing Taylor Hendricks kind of take a step forward this season, and that will be put on hold. What else do you expect to see? Utah also has not filed their injury report yet.
Yeah, really bad news, as we mentioned on the lead there. So the first question, so we have to talk about who starts, right? I'm not going to go into the details. It reminded me a lot of just really bad stuff I don't want to talk about. So let's talk about what happens here. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what role did Taylor Hendricks play? And it was on ball. He guarded freaking just everyone. He guarded Luka. He's guarded Steph. He's guarded Morant. He's guarded all the high-end ball. That's his most important role. So who else on this team has that role? There's really one guy who's done it consistently, and that's Cody Williams. So I think Cody Williams is the favorite to start. But the next question you ask is, who's done that role before? And it's been Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton's been a guy that has had that role, the young bull. Will they be willing to switch that role there? Maybe. If they are willing to do that, then that opens up more doors. So if they are willing to put Sexton on the ball defensively, then you're talking about, I think Bryce Sensabaugh will be next up. We saw Bryce Sensabaugh subbing in behind Laurie in the preseason. So maybe they flip that and they're comfortable playing him there. And then the other one will be John Collins. We saw a couple minutes for the first time this season of 2 minutes of Walker Kessler and John Collins overlap. We could get that back in the mix. And then, hey, maybe they go back to Jordan Clarkson. But as we've seen really throughout the year, they have not been overlapping. And we saw a little bit of overlap last night. And then I think it was 5 minutes overlap of Sexton and Clarkson. And then we also had 2 minutes that first game when Keontae George started 0-9 and then got pulled out because he was playing so poorly. So there's a chance. So all this broken down here. And then the other note here is someone's going to enter the rotation. Feel pretty strongly it's going to be Kyle Filipowski, who played a lot of 4 in the preseason. He was their third string 4. We have him basically projected to play the non-Laurie minutes, as Laurie is shifting from more of a 3 to what I think is going to be a straight 4 now. Okay, so all this stuff said, so you're breaking down who's likely to start. I think Cody Williams is most likely to start, and then I would have a pretty big gap, and then you're talking Bryce Sensabaugh, John Collins, Clarkson in that order for me. And then again, just taking out those minutes, you could really condense. Maybe we see Keontae George play a lot again. And then, there's more overlap. I think they're going to run overlap. With Collins, mentioned that before. And then, some Sexton Clarkson overlap as well. So, yeah, really tough loss for, one of their best young players on their team.
Yeah, I agree with you that Cody Williams is most likely to start because of the role that he fills that Taylor Hendricks had. I would say I actually think John Collins is second most likely to start. Two reasons. One, we've seen John Collins kind of start in this lineup before, shifting Laurie to the 3. They've done that. They've been comfortable with that. And then two, he's the one guy off the bench that's played decently of late. And was like, when you were talking about Will Hardy, in the film session and stuff, the previous game, the only guy that I saw that played with any energy was John Collins. And so I think it's very, like, if I had to, put percentages down, I'd say like 75 to 80% Cody Williams. And then I'd say like 15 to, like 15% John Collins, and then I'd say the rest to Bryce Sensabaugh is kind of the way that I think about it personally. But certainly, like, keeping the core integrity of like John Collins as your second unit scorer also makes some sense. And they can stagger and do different things, but losing Hendricks does tighten things up. This is a team that we've talked about before in the past is like always a 10-man rotation, and I think getting Filipowski in there will be a 10-man. But we're looking at now like Patty Mills and Filipowski are your 9th and 10th guys instead of, Patty Mills and Sensabaugh or whoever you want to view, Cody Williams, whoever you want to view. And so we're just a little bit further down the depth chart. I think they're still playing 10, but we're getting closer. Like if there's one more injury, I guess Fee would probably play. They just have enough. Drew
Eubanks, right? If you're going to play 4.
Good point. Yeah.
That's why I kind of don't think
time.
so. I think it's just cleaner to play Filipowski and just like put Drew Eubanks. But yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. On to the New Orleans and Golden State game. Last game on the slate. Still plenty of injury stuff to talk through here. On the New Orleans side, no DeJounte Murray, no Trey Murphy, no Karlo Matkovich on G League assignment, or Antonio Reeves also on G League assignment. So, what do we expect to see from New Orleans tonight?
It should be pretty much the same situation. We saw the no DeJounte iteration, a couple games, really bad loss for them in Portland overall. So should be the same ordeal here as CJ McCollum will run some more point. Brandon Ingram and then Zion Williamson, who played horribly. Against the Blazers, we talked about how bad this rim defense was, and Zion's been really off to a slow start this year from an offensive efficiency standpoint. We've seen this in pockets where his half-court offense falls off. So we'll see if he can right the ship here. That'll be the starting lineup. We saw a little bit of Yves Missi Zion overlap. That was something we were watching in the preseason. 10 minutes of that in the overlap in the minutes that mattered. Jordan Hawkins is playing so much. So those will kind of be their main bench guys. Jose Alvarado did get, I believe, 4 minutes of overlap with CJ McCollum. So expecting a little bit of that there. Especially for the matchup, even without the big dogs out. And then Javonte Green will play. So starters I mentioned, Missi, Alvarado, Javonte Green, and Jordan Hawkins will be kind of their core 9.
All right, on to the Golden State side, trickier side here. So Steph Curry and DeAnthony Melton are both out. Steph with the left perineal strain and DeAnthony Melton with the right facet inflammation, two words that I don't use a lot. And then Brandon Pajemski is available, NA face mask. So love the face mask thing. Shout out to loyal listeners, Cody Zeller. Wiggins also listed questionable with a low back strain here, but Steve Kerr referred to him as likely out. So we think this 12-man rotation has maybe been cut to 9, maybe 10. Yeah. Could they still find 12? What are your thoughts on what we see from Golden State tonight?
Yeah, let's talk backstory here. So we saw Steph Curry hurt his ankle and then hurt it again, went straight to the locker room. And again, he's going to be reevaluated on Friday. So many Steph Curry ankle injuries over the years, prior to being like the Steph that we know and love. And the big reason why you see huge ankle braces on Steph. So probably going to need a week. We'll see what that Friday update brings. And then, DeAnthony Melton back injury. That's the one thing you didn't want, man. This is not good for your guy, DeAnthony Melton. Hopefully it's just precautionary, but this is scary stuff. And then as you mentioned, Andrew Wiggins, it might be back-to-back related. They play again tomorrow, so something to watch. But as you mentioned, Kerr expecting him not to play. So you're taking away 3 really, really important pieces, 2 of which are your main guard depth, and then the other one has been your starting shooting guard. You're taking away all the depth at one spot, and there's not much left. So let's talk about what we know, at least we think we know. Kuminga, Draymond, and we think Trace Jackson Davis will start, and then it gets a little icky. I feel very, very sure that one of at least Brandon Podziemski and Buddy Hield are going to start. One of those guys for sure starting. Is it both? Definitely possible. But the issue with that, you're talking about a second unit that has no handling. Yes, you could stagger him. Yes, you could count on Slow-Mo, who's referred to as a ball handler. I don't know. So I have a little bit like that was my first inclination. But like, I just don't think Kerr thinks like that. I think Kerr wants balance in his first and second unit. So I kind of think Buddy may come off the bench. I'm not sure. Like, I would not bet on this at all. But it could be, again, one of those two. But it could be Moses Moody, who's been frequently viewed as like Wiggins' backup. So I think that's part of the reason why. And then you kind of spread out your ball handle a little bit, get some second creation, get that second unit punch with Buddy or Pods overall. So yeah, again, not strong opinions there. And then the bench, the next guy in will be Lindy Waters. There was a comment after the first game when we were all pissed at Kerr for playing 12. He's like, "Oh yeah, I almost wish I played Lindy and went 13." So quite sure. Our favorite weatherman, Lindy Waters III, will be in the rotation. That would make it what? That makes it 9. And then we've got Guy Santos. He'll probably play. We know GP2 doesn't play a lot of minutes, so I feel like they're going to run. Like for sure, Lindy's for sure playing.
Wouldn't Lindy make it 10? When Lindy make it 10?
Okay, yeah, Lindy makes it. Okay, yeah, makes it 10.
Yeah, I think Lindy's 10, and then I think that's it. Yeah.
We have Santos for 6 minutes.
Yeah, I get it if we're like hedging a little bit on who the 10th guy is, but I think they're playing 10, but we'll see. I mean, it's Kerr. Who knows? I feel stronger on one of the starting pieces than you do. So I feel strongly that Buddy Hield, who I am still regretting. I mean, I can't say I regret taking D'Anthony Melton. He's the original my guy. But I was between Melton and Hield. I have so much Buddy Hield in best ball, and watching Buddy Hield play on the Warriors has been I don't know. I've never done ayahuasca, but it feels like it. It feels like what it would be like watching Buddy Hield play on the Warriors. That's what ayahuasca feels like to me. But I think Steve Kerr had a quote the other day where he talked about how they were going to have Buddy Hield in all the non-Steph Curry minutes, and that they view Buddy Hield as basically like the offense that they run. Like if you think about the way that this Warriors team has run their offense for a decade or whatever, it's been Steph is running around screens and getting Steph the ball, or Clay is running around screens and getting him the ball. The only other guy that can do that and be impactful off screens is Buddy Hield on this team. So I think Buddy Hield is stepping into Steph's minutes tonight. And I think the question mark is Pods or Moody. And I think there's enough ball handling in the starting unit with Draymond Green that it could be Moody. I think that's possible. And I think the second unit runs a little bit less of the screen heavy ball unit stuff and a little bit more Pods pick and roll type stuff. Use Looney as a screener. And there's also a little bit more ball handling with Kuminga. And then you have Pods and Kyle Anderson as like the levers on the ball handling side. I think that works. So I think I'm more confident that Buddy Hield is starting, and then I'm more flipped on Pods and Moody. Understanding that Moody brings, some of the defensive stuff, some of the floor spacing and shooting that Wiggins brings to the team in terms of what they need. The other thing that I wouldn't be totally insane to see, Gary Payton is like Wiggins-esque too. Yeah. And Kerr loves Gary Payton. So like primary on-ball defender, I could see that being a solution as well. I think that's way lower probability, but I just want to put that out there that in terms of what they need from Wiggins, that's that. So I could see that being kind of, out there as an option as well. But I think we see Buddy Hield's minutes. It's hard to project, but I think he's going to be on the Steph plan tonight, I think. Yeah. But we'll see on that front.
Yeah, they're definitely the biggest, most facsimile. And as you mentioned, like I went into it thinking Pods. We were in a minute doing the minutes. Oh yeah, Pods got it. Like, I don't know, man. Like I think they kind of like him in that kind of backup role. And then hey, if you have like foul trouble, he's a little bit more malleable. So like I think it makes
Yeah.
honestly more sense to start Buddy. That you mentioned, I think him and Draymond are going to really mesh well together.
Right. So that's the thing. I think Dre and Buddy mesh well together. I also think you've got three different guys who could reasonably bring the ball up between Buddy, Dre, and Kuminga. Like it's not perfect, but there's three different guys who can do that. In the second unit, you look like they're not going to have Gary Payton do that. They're obviously not going to have Kevon Looney do that. They maybe have Kyle Anderson do that, but you need someone else. You need someone else to be that guy. And Lindy Waters ain't that guy. Guy Santos, he could, but like, no. So that's why that's why the more we talk through this, the more I think pods might come off the bench.
Yep.
It might just make things easier for them.
That's how I felt. I went from thinking through it was like 85% pods, and I was like, maybe it's like 50%.
Yeah, it's tricky though, and getting in the mind of Steve Kerr is a dangerous place. So, all right. That will do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. If you are interested in checking out some of our premium content, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more details on our premium product offerings. On the DFS side, you get Mike Gallagher's matchups column 3 times a week, live shows with myself and Mike 5 times a week, breaking down the slate, the good chalk, the bad chalk, the contrarian plays, and of course, the flag plants. I'm so mad I didn't flag plant Paolo last night. I like Jimmy Butler went well, but like I was the whole time. That's my play usually when there's like a questionable illness is like lean into the other guys. And we were talking a lot about that on the show with Suggs and Paolo. And then I just kind of forgot about it because it was the first game we talked about. It wasn't fresh in my mind. But saw a lot of screenshots in Discord last night. Saw another user take down the 555. I think that's like 3 or 4 days in a row. One of our subs has taken that down. 100K score last night. So shout out to the subs. If you're interested in joining there, you can find those details at establishedrun.com. /subscribe-NBA. If you're interested in our props package, please read through the FAQ. It's really important to understand if you're getting involved. We have raised the price. We're trying to kind of find the right balance on pricing and sizing of that package and subscription, but we're really proud of the work that we're doing over there and the work that goes into our projections to make them industry standard. So we're very, very proud of that work. If you are uninterested in the premium stuff and just hanging along for the free stuff, kudos to you. We appreciate you here and there as well. Please subscribe to this channel. It helps us continue to build out some of this free content, and smash that like button. It helps feed the algorithm, which helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your DFS lineups, your season-long lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, feed that algorithm. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you tomorrow.